on that?
I want to try to find a way that I can get a $2 or $3 every time somebody call me and ask me for black or blue.
Oh,
If I can get $2 every time,
yeah.
I won't be on this with you. I'll be somewhere holding a margarita or somewhere. I have it. They go buy the best dogs. They go build the beautiful kennels. They go do everything material wise they can do. And when you see they set up, you say they're a great breeder. But they haven't checked all the boxes. And then when that first litter hit, that Duramax or whatever whelping box you got, it don't mean a damn thing when you don't know what you're doing.
What's up, everybody? We back for another one with a very special guest, Lamont Morgan. He's a humble man, but I'll tell you, this guy is a very dominant breeder that I know so much so in our region, and I know he's known nationwide. So he's here today, and Lamont, welcome, brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Even taking the time out to invite an old country boy like myself.
No problem, no problem. This is gonna be a good one. Let's go and jump right into it, man. You want to tell the general public a little bit about yourself, where you're from? No,
man, I'm Lamont Morgan, as you introduced, from Texarkana, Texas, originally. Born and raised in Texarkana on the Arkansas and Texas side. Currently reside in Midlothian, Texas, the southern sector of Dallas. I'm the owner of La Potenza Cane Corso. Been in the Corso breed for about 26 years, roughly, since I got my first ones. Something that I do daily. I train maybe 100 to 150 Corsos a year. Some of those are including other breeds as well, but majority of the dogs I train are Corsos.
Okay. So when did you kind of pick up your passion for dogs?
Truthfully, I think I was about 11 years old. I got to see some hog dogs, which were pit bulls. At that time, those older men, they didn't believe in necessarily guns, hunting the hogs, because they hunted for a purpose, and that the bullet would tear up the meat in their eyes. So they used a dog and a knife, and because they weren't just hunting for sport, they were hunting for to eat,
Right.
And what they did was, I think what really kind of sparked my interest was they would take the hogs and they would process them, field dress them right then, and they would take them to families that were in certain areas that were poor, that actually could use the meat. And I think that's kind of what drove me to want to do it a little more, was the purpose behind it.
Right. So that dog, when y'all was hunting those, I guess wild boar, or
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be more of the pit bull dog, right?
It was at that
Okay.
time, yeah. But
So
it's funny that my Corsos do it as well.
right, which a lot of people don't think they will.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I
Exactly.
had a guy telling me, y'all Corsos don't do nothing in the South. Don't do
Hey,
it.
man,
Yeah,
I can show him better than I can tell him.
exactly. So did you, I guess from there, you started breeding the pit bull first?
If that's what you want to call it.
What do you want to call it?
And when I say that, I know we all have to start somewhere, and Lord knows my start was definitely not what I want to look like when I finish.
Right.
I think my first little puppies, man, I think I sold them for $20 a piece, and I thought I was rich.
Yeah.
I had 10 of them.
Right.
I think I was, 14, 15 years old
Okay.
when I had my first litter, and it was just I had a male and a female, and I had puppies.
Wow.
The one thing that I say now is I don't have puppies, I have a program. And I learned a lot from the difference between then and now, So when people say, well, when the first time you started breeding, I have to think, well, when did I actually know what I was doing?
Right.
Versus when did I have my first litter? I had my
Right.
first litter when I was 14, 15 years old, but I promise you I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
And that's what I think a lot of people have to understand is I don't care if you're 15 or if you're 50, when you have your first litter, I don't know if you can necessarily consider yourself a breeder.
Right.
I think you had a litter,
Yeah. Right. So when did you get introduced to the Corso?
I got introduced to the Corso in 97. I was at an ADBA show, a pit bull show, and a guy walked in. He had two of them. His name was Doyle Holmes, and it blew my mind. He had a black brindle male from Belmonte, and he had a solid fawn male. And when I went up to him, my only question was, and I was a kid. I think I was 19 years old, 18, 19 years old. And I asked him, I said, well, I don't know. I know they not no pit bull. What are they? I thought they was a mix because they had a pit bull look to them.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, he said, hey, they're Cane Corso. I didn't have a clue what he was speaking or what he was calling them,
Mm-hmm.
And he went on to explain to me what they were. And I told him, I looked at him, I said, I'm going to get me one. I said, I'm going to give me two of them. He said, man, they kind of expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you remember back then, the way they advertised some of the top breeders in the country, they advertised in a magazine. That magazine had almost every breed of dogs in it. And it was only a few breeders that actually were in that magazine. So I found that magazine and I bought one. And then I looked and found a breeder that had them. And that's how I got my first one. My first one name was Maverick. He was a solid black male, aggressive, but he was good. He had true Corso characteristics.
Okay. So you got your first one, and I guess from then it was a lot of study on the Corso. What breeders did you look at the time?
Believe it or not, it wasn't a lot of information out there to study.
Yeah.
They were far and few because this was considered I think the word they used to use, it was like exotic breed.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard because we didn't have the internet. There was no internet back then.
Right.
All your research had to come from the library. You had to actually go check out a book and read the book, or you had to know someone. One of the guys that I did talk to, got dogs from, still ran some of their lines as of today, and we're still friends of today, was Tony Scandy. And I knew other breeders as well. A lot of them had got dogs from Belmonte Kennels back then. I knew of Ed Hodis, and who's done some great things as well. So some of the older guys, one of the older guys was Dan Kierstead, that I watched them, and I guess the thing that I loved about them was they raised dogs. What does that mean? They didn't raise big, soft couch potatoes. Mm-hmm. They raised dogs that truly had a purpose when they came into a home, or if they went to a farm, or they went to a police officer's home, who, come under threat every day, as well as his families. It seems back then, breeding a dog had a purpose besides just money.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it kind of seems like you pointed out that you had to get the information from either a library or a breeder.
Yeah.
It seems
or hands-on.
Yeah, it seems like it's still like that today. It's just a lot you don't know unless you can talk to this person. I mean, you get some things from a book, but there's a lot of stuff I've had to call you on down through the years. And
well, it's still some things. At 26 years, I have to call people on, and I try to call people that are educated in the breed, not just by the internet. I want to talk to people who have hands-on experience. Mm-hmm. when you go to the doctor, you want somebody that has had the scalpel in their hand or you know, have some hands-on experience before they operate on you.
Right.
Well, what do you see today? You see people that they start things, they move forward, they become experts, and they don't have a dog. So I really wanted my information because that's the way I started. I started from old men that worked dogs. Their knowledge came from working dogs. Their feeding practices came from them learning as they went what works. In that process, this is the thing, you make a lot of mistakes. You make a lot of mistakes, and man, you can contest to this with your pocket too. The things you invest in.
Yeah.
Trying different dog foods, trying different worm medicine, trying different shampoos, all over the place. Your learning experience can be expensive. And throughout the years, mine has been. But I was blessed not only to have guys that were in the Corso breed, but guys that were in the dog period that could give me a point in the right direction of mistakes not to necessarily continue to make because they had made them and they passed the information on. So that's where a lot of my information came from because I didn't have the luxury of the internet. Well, what you find now, yes, you do have different options for research. And that's what, when people call, they say, hey, Lamont, I've done my research. And the first question I ask them, where? And they say, well, I Googled this or I Googled that. Google is great in some instances, but who's putting out that information that you're Googling? I can sit behind the screen and type up a lot of stuff and put it on there and make it the gospel. But does it truly work? You know, because one thing I get daily are a lot of myths that people seem to go by because they've done their research. I know one of them is simple things like registry, difference between ICCF and AKC.
Let's go into that. What is the difference in those? And I had that question somewhere, but yeah, go into that.
Well, AKC, they have been recognizing the breed, I think, since 2010. Some of these days, I'm getting a little older, so some of these dates might they might be a little off, but they're close.
Right.
When I started with this breed, all we had was ICCF. And that was our registry that we had to rely on. And they did great for us. But today's, if you see ICCF, it's almost like you cussed. And AKC's registry was based off of ICCF. So that's kind of like a mama and her daughter. You can't talk about the daughter, the mama, when the daughter's a part of the mama.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You have to give that credit to that mama.
Right.
You know, as a husband, I can love her, but she came from the mama.
Right.
So AKC was birthed from ICCF. And you see a lot of the new standards. It's about the agenda, I think, at times that is pushed. And it depends on who's behind that agenda.
Right.
But at the end of it, I don't care where they're registered, whether it's ICCF or AKC. What's important is what kind of dog do you have? Because majority of people, when they buy a dog, and if you're not the kind of breeder like I am, I actually enter their information and register them myself, as I did with you. Most people hand them the paper, okay? Typically what most pet owners and families do, they go home and they put that paper in a drawer or in a folder, and they never register the dog. But if they say, when you bought your dog, do you got papers? That's the question. Do you got papers? Oh, yeah, I got papers. But they never filled them out. They never registered them. They just know my dog came with paperwork. And they never look at that paperwork ever again. Because what's important to them is the dog. So that's where I think a lot of pet owners should consider, what is my purpose? Is my purpose to bring something in that's going to love my family, be safe with my children, protect my home if need be, then these are the characteristics that a true Corso is supposed to have. Is it going to be able to cipher between a threat and not a threat? Because if it does that, I don't care who registered, who you paid your $35 to. You know, it's about, at the end of the day, the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I don't lose focus on.
Right. Your dogs, you explained to me that different breeders get different results, and your dogs got fire. They got fire.
They twinkle a little bit.
Yeah. So, but they also launch shows. Mm-hmm. So how do you? Is it just really hard to get that blend, or is it just certain ones sometimes it pop out?
A lot of mistakes.
Yeah,
a lot of mistakes.
Right.
But when it comes to that, what your dogs are going to be is what your purpose is based on. Mm-hmm. If you don't have purpose, I have a good friend. He's a breeder. Mm-hmm. Okay, he has a lot of dogs. He has a lot of litters, and he has a lot of inconsistency. Because he goes to this breeder and get a dog. He goes to that breeder and get a dog. He goes to this big name breeder and get a dog, and this big name breeder and get a dog, and he mixes it all together. Guess what? They don't always blend.
Yeah.
I think you know that.
Right.
And what you want as a breeder is to be consistent. Mm-hmm. Consistent in your productions. Are my productions the same in 2005 as they are today? I would hope not. I would hope my 2023 productions are better than my 05, because what was the question one time? What makes a kennel complete?
Right.
I don't know the answer to that, because to me, a kennel is never complete. Mm. As a breeder, you're supposed to constantly want to get better. You constantly want to fix things, because there's no such thing as a perfect dog.
Right.
As a breeder, I want to be consistent.
Right. You know? I remember one time I was talking to you about an old dog. I ain't gonna name the dog, but it was a famous kind of dog, good popular dog. And I'm like, I said, man, you wouldn't be interested. I forgot how I phrased it.
I know exactly what dog was talking about.
And you told
semen off of it.
Yeah. And then you told me something that kind of it's always stuck with me. He said, sometimes you look at those older dogs, it might not be what you want, because why would I want to go back and fix all that on that dog?
And the dog that you're talking about, I had semen from him, and he was a great dog, great producer. Don't get me wrong, and a lot of people's pedigree, his foundation is in there, right? Mm-hmm. And I had some females that I had 4 or 5 generations behind that they were what I was starting to really, really love and be where I wanted to be. Right. And you asked me, well, you don't want to use that on them. And I think my response to you was no, because I knew his flaws.
Right.
I had worked the line that he was off of. I had worked those flaws pretty much out.
Right.
So why would I go back just because he had a popular name and bring him back in? And I seen that with about 4 or 5 breeders at that time. They brought him back in. Mm-hmm. And their production showed that they went back and brought in some of the same. And it wasn't anything detrimental. It wasn't epilepsy or anything like that.
Right.
It was things like drag on the mouth. And,
right.
Those kind of things that's what he produced.
Right.
And could I have brought him back and been okay? Absolutely. But I would have went right back into trying to make sure those same characteristics that I had worked out, I wasn't starting back over to bring, again.
About going forward at it.
Yes, absolutely.
So let me ask you this one. This is a big question. You see all the emphasis on size and color over type and intelligence.
Yes.
Can you expound on that?
I want to try to find a way that I can get $2 or $3 every time somebody call me and ask me for black or blue. If I get $2 every time, I won't be on this honest with you, I'll be somewhere holding a margarita or somewhere. I have it. We all have preference, okay? Something is always pleasing to our eye aesthetically. Give you a quick example. I love red Corvettes. And I think I look better in red Corvette because my eyes shine a little better in a red Corvette than to do a black one. If I get to the Corvette house and I say, well, sir, I've got a red only. He said, well, Mr. Morgan, I got a red one over there in the corner, but these two are Z06s, no miles, the best thing we got. Nope, I want that red one. It's over there in that corner. And then I get down the highway because he's done it. I bought it. And then the transmission starts slipping. He gave me what I asked for because I wanted the color. But I signed up for more than what I thought. That's what people are doing today. What they call breeders, the first thing they say is, you got a blue one? You got a gray one? You got a black one? Breeders say, oh, absolutely. I got a black one. Well, they're getting what they're asking for. They're taking their deposits. They're taking their money. They're doing exactly what that person asked them for. But when they get home, they realize the transmission slipped or the starter bad. And what that translates into a dog is bad temperament, hip dysplasia, epilepsy, those genetic things that you can't get around if it's in the lines. So the emphasis on size and color. I love a big dog that's functional. Take a Dan and Tony, and I'm mentioning those two guys because I know them. Okay, right. I'm not excluding anybody. It's just I know them and their dogs.
Right.
And there's some other good breeders out there that have really big dogs as well that are functional. Functional means they can run, they can jump, they're not overweight. Their weight is based off of the bone and the mass that they have in their DNA, structurally. Not somebody that's pumping an extra 15 pounds of weight on them because they're overfeeding, dumping raw in their, supplements, things of that nature. If you can find a heavy Corso, which there are plenty, there are plenty. If you can find a heavy Corso that is functional, that has longevity behind him, and they reach 12, 11, 13 years of age, not a hip dysplasia at 4.5, put to sleep at 6. If you can find that and you love that for yourself, excellent. But as a breeder, I know that's not for me. My dogs, I want an athlete.
Right.
And when I say I want an athlete, does that mean a big dog isn't an athlete? Absolutely not.
Right.
Like I said, if they're functional. But me, give me my stud at 116, 112, that can run through the wall. That's what I like. And that's what my purpose is. No one's in better shape than an athlete.
I.e. Vulcan. I'm gonna put a picture of him too. So yeah.
So you got to think. But I've been working for him for 20 years. And he's smaller to some people. They want bigger, but he can sit between 109 and 112. He can take down a 275-pound hog. He can go into a daycare and teach dog education to kids. He can go to a senior living facility and sit with the elderly. He can do protection work. He'll take a man's shoulder out of place.
Right.
That's what I want. That's a strong safety versus an offensive tackle.
Right.
Okay. And when I say that, my goal as a breeder is always that my dogs don't have limitations. First thing, mentally. If the dog doesn't have a mind, he's not for me. Okay. And I mean a quick mind, because dogs have to make split decisions. Is that baby on that bicycle a threat, or is he not? I can't have a slow-minded dog, nor will I breed slow-minded dogs. I want something that's quick and accurate and that can pick up on things immediately. that's a struggle in this for a lot of breeders, because you ask yourself, do you breed for what the money is, what the market is, or do you breed for you and your purpose? And it might not be what's popular right now.
Right.
You get
so here's one. So in the last few years, when you had that virus, right, a lot of breeders popped out the woodwork. I don't maybe because we got money. I don't know. But and the market is saturated.
Yes,
right now.
Absolutely.
Where do you see? And the Corso has got real popular over in the States. Like I think he's number 18 now.
Right.
Where do you see the Corso the next 10 years?
That's a heck of a question. As you said, it's definitely saturated. It's definitely in a situation to where Corsos used to be almost like a ghost. If you had one and somebody see it, you were like, what is that? Now it's, oh, you got a Corso. My brother got one, or my so-and-so got one, and my cousin got one. Like so many other breeds, I think it's going to simply continue because more people are learning about the breed. They're interested in it as well. So we can't say it's a bad thing, because at one point we were those people. When I seen that first one, I was amazed. So, of course, a new person coming into it, they're going to be that as well. What I hope would happen is that we get better breeders.
Right.
And that's a luck of the draw sometimes, because you have so many things out there directing people on what a good breeder is that isn't necessarily putting a family first.
Right.
Right.
Right. Down through the years, I've noticed you, well, I don't know for sure, but how many people have you mentored? I mean, I know you probably talk to people all the time. I know you do studying and all that. I mean, what is that process like for you?
Yeah, that's easier to answer than how many people.
Right. I know.
I don't have a clue.
Right.
Because the thing of me, I like to talk. So, if they call me and they're approachable, I'm definitely approachable and we can talk. Right. Because that's truly how you learn. It's by talking to people and learning and listening and that kind of thing.
Right.
But as far as a process for me, it could come in by way of them buying a pup, them seeing me at the park, like you said, stud service, training. That's where majority of my people that I meet come from, is training. I don't sell that many puppies, but the training side of things, I get to constantly train for people and families, and that's what like my love is. Because not only that, I get to train for a lot of breeders too.
True.
And that brings me. You take a gentleman. He had yesterday. He flew in from New York. He flew his dog in on a private airplane for me to train. Now that says something to me,
right?
Hell
yeah,
yeah. But he got his dog from a breeder on the East Coast. I don't know the breeder. I knew I've seen the kennel name before, but I never met him. So what that gave me a chance for, to reach out to that breeder and say, hey, I have this one. He says he's out for this dog. I'm going to give you a little feedback. He said, man, I've never had a trainer to reach out. I appreciate that. He said, man, I want to know what that litter does, So I've been able to do that throughout the years, and that's what I think makes me have some of the relationships I have with breeders all across the country, is because I've been able to train their dogs, give them feedback, and just to be honest, I've kept some of them jokers secrets.
Yeah. I was thinking in my mind. I said, he know the temperament of these dogs.
I've kept some of their secrets too, and they say, "Thank you, Lamont." Yeah, thank you, Lamont. Hey, I'm not liked by everybody,
Right.
Sometimes they leave me alone because they know I know they sick.
Right. The dog be twitching and everything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that's the number one way to do it. I mean,
It
because
is.
if somebody had your dog and they want an insight on the lines and the behavior of the lines, you would know.
Right.
You know? So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna ask you a question. I'm gonna throw a twist in this.
Let's do it.
You have some of my dogs. If it was something that you could say, I wish they had more of or less of, what would one thing be?
Well, let me see. They good dogs, right? I can't say I would want them to have less. So I tell you what, for instance, Zeta, she ain't the friendliest mug, you know?
Right.
But that she doing what she's supposed to do.
Right.
And I know I'll take her out. I don't take her out around everybody. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I know she's not gonna harm kids, but I know she's very suspicious of strangers. And she's never bit anybody, but I know like she has this attitude where I got my eye on you. I know you ain't supposed to be here.
Right.
So I have to be careful with her.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't let everybody handle her.
Gotcha.
So
Two things you just said.
Yeah.
You described what a Corso is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Discernment for a stranger.
Right.
And two, you take the steps of being a responsible owner.
Right.
Those are the things that and there's a reason why I asked you that question, because I ask everybody that question that ends up with my dogs, because this is the dialect that most breeders don't have.
Right.
They're not able to take constructive criticism of
that was
what
a bold ass question.
I put myself out there.
Sure the hell did, yeah.
So, but then in your answer, I can come back and show you the good things about what you said.
Right.
Is it makes me feel good, because that is what a Corso is supposed to be in my eyes. A Corso is supposed to be very suspicious of a stranger. Why? Especially in your case, because you have children and you have a wife that is at home sometimes without you being there.
Right.
So the little white van with the little strange man ain't gonna pull up in your yard and take your child out your yard. You know, and then we got a shirt on and looking for him and that kind of stuff. But two, I sent my dog to the person that they needed to send to, because you have spent time with that dog. You watch the characteristics of that dog. You watch the demeanor that she has, and you take the responsible steps to protect not only the dog, but the public at the same time.
And that's the thing you got to learn. A lot of us still, I'm 45 years old, I still have a problem saying no. Right. I still have a problem. I know when I walk her,
Can I
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I got, man. Yeah. No. Don't do that. But in my back of my mind, I'm thinking about, here's a vicious dog. But I got to be okay with that. Because she ain't got no bites, but I know, look.
She'll protect you if she
will. Yeah, I remember like we was at a soccer game and I kind of walked off. My wife and my son was sitting down. All these kids was walking up, petting her up, blue. This one man came and she wasn't having it.
Yeah.
He wasn't having it. So you just got to know that stuff about your dogs. You know?
Yeah. She can cipher between what's a threat and what's not a threat, because those kids are supposed to never be a threat. I think me and you have talked about that.
Right.
You take my kennel, you can send any kid on earth in there and they can put their hands in every kennel.
All right, so since we out in the open about that,
okay.
So I normally breed, when I breed the dogs, I go right back in the family.
Right.
I'm not big on crossing too much, but the type of dog I would take her with, what would you suggest? Something like her or something just a little bit, being that she is fiery,
I wouldn't, I'm never into diluting.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we got to look at the breed that we have.
That's true.
Now, if you was breeding a Shih Tzu, maybe you would take her to a male that didn't quite have what she had in her.
Right.
At the end of the day, when we place a dog in the home, we're supposed to evaluate those puppies prior to placing them in the home.
Right.
That's why you don't find on my page, I got 1-week-old puppies taking deposits. Because if Joe Church is buying a dog from me, and I know you have 2 children, and you have a family, and you live in a neighborhood, and you want a dog that's a family member and a companion for your family, I don't need to sell you a working dog with just because it's the color that you want.
Right.
So no, I'm never going to take the steps to dilute what are truly in my lines, because how do I get them back?
Yeah.
What it might take me 4 generations to get it back.
Right.
So no, I'm going to make sure I place the right dogs in the right home. I'm going to encourage everybody to make sure they're doing their part like you are. If that dog, it deserves to get training. What do you mean it deserves to get training? I don't know a kid that you have in your household that you haven't raised. You haven't potty trained. You hadn't taught how to use a fork, a spoon.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir. You put the training into that dog the same way you would any other family member. And that's what that dog becomes, is a family member.
Right.
You know? So those are things that I look at when it comes to the breeding side of things. It's the placement of the right pup, not the right color or the biggest one. I want the biggest boy you got.
Right.
No, not necessarily.
Yeah. So what makes your program different than most programs here?
I work my dogs.
You do? Yeah.
I work them. And when I say work them, that looks different. I do a lot with guys, military guys with PTSD. I don't put those on my Facebook. I don't put them on Instagram. Why? Because they deserve a certain level of privacy. They've earned it. You know, they've earned it with the stripes on their back. My males, in order to breed, they have to have structure, intelligence, grit, health, and they have to earn it. They have to show that they have the qualities that we want to move forward in our program. That's going to be 3-4 generations down the line, not right now. Not because he carries a strong blue gene and he'll give me puppies, you know. So when I look at what separates me from most is I can prove it. What you say that dog is, I can prove it. You know, all my dogs are advanced obedience trained. So that means that they have to have a level of intelligence before I even start to consider them. I have dogs that are just lined up to do work. I sell to farms, ranches, police officers. I don't know how many guys on Dallas SWAT with my dogs. And you have to earn that with them guys. You know, state troopers and military, and I'm just naming them because a lot of them, they serve, they're at risk every day.
Yeah, they harm men.
On their job and when they come home.
Right.
You know, so there's a certain level of dog that they want. You know, but more importantly, I have families. You know, a lot of single women. Our world has changed. You know, everybody's a threat.
Yeah.
They don't leave old people alone anymore.
They don't.
Yeah. You know, I think the oldest couple that has one of my dogs, Miss Irene, her husband is late 80s. And I think Miss Irene early 80s. And I think their female is about 4 or 5 years old now.
Right.
So look at what age she seen Vulcan at a show. And I looked around, she was on the floor with him, and I thought we helped her up.
Right.
Said, I'm going to get me one of these. You just watch. And we made it happen, you know. So I got them from people who are elderly to people who are in college, you know. So that's what I pride myself on. You know?
You know, my mother got one of your dogs.
Yes.
Yeah, she done took a bullet for her, you know.
Literally.
Yeah, literally.
And that's what people don't understand.
Right, yeah, done took a bullet. bullet alerting on somebody on the side of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, got shot.
And guess what? She wouldn't have fit what most people consider a Corso.
Right.
She ain't the biggest.
She ain't the biggest. No, not at all.
Yeah, but she served the right purpose for her and your dad.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. And that's what I care about. Madison, my daughter was one of the number one junior handlers in the country in 17, 18, 19, I think going into 2020 before they canceled the shows for COVID. She loved it and was good at it. And that brought me into the show world. And that's what I think I started to learn the other side, which I feel if you know each side, you're able to balance it,
Right.
And but it brought a different dynamic to it.
How is the show side?
It's depending on who you ask, and if you're asking, and if you ask me, and you got to think, I got a lot of friends that show now.
Oh yeah.
Well, they've been showing for years, and it's interesting what the conversations we have. But the good ones, they still come back to the functionality of the dogs.
Right.
But we can't put structure, we can't put those things out the window. It's just like when you're a working guy, you don't want the look to be the only thing considered.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a show person, you don't want the functionality and working side to be the only thing considered, because they have a standard for a reason. Unfortunately, we're in a time where the standard is all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And the fight is, it's who's setting the standard. Does it fit what the dogs in their kennel look like? Or are they holding true to what the standard always has been?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's depending on who you ask.
Right.
I think both of them are important, but I don't think you can have one without the other.
Right.
And where your problem runs in is when you have people that separate the two because they're on one side. You see what I mean?
Right.
I don't think you can separate the two.
Right.
Not for the success of the breed long term.
It'll be cool, like because you got a lot of new breeders, and you got the old guard, maybe more so like show breeders, and you see this tiff in between them. Mm-hmm. It'd be nice if they can have some kind of more education like what you're doing, where they can come and learn, because a lot of them just don't know. They just throwing shit together.
Right.
To be, because the dog is getting proper.
Man, I guess a lot of it usually is money based. People take a profit type attitude to it. Is, well, I'm going to push what I push because ultimately they'll buy a dog from me. Mm-hmm. Or, they'll buy or they'll let me show their dog, or, something like that. Mm-hmm. That is usually money based on the decision that people usually make. And that's unfortunate, but you don't find a lot of people giving away good information anymore. Keyword giving information anymore. Mm-hmm. But one thing I can say to this is, and we've talked about this, I don't make a lot of videos when I train. I have 4 ladies reach out the other day, and they said, "Hey, Lamont, you need to make more videos." I said, "Why do you say that?" She said, "Well, we're having problems with our dogs, and if you made more videos, we would know how to fix them." I said, "Well, ma'am," I said, "Answer this for me." I said, "If I train for a living, and this is how I feed my family, how can you expect me to give a lot of videos of what I do that I've worked for 20 years to you for free so you can fix your dogs for fun?"
Right. Right.
I said, Do you see great bakers giving all their baking secrets away? No, they don't.
Right.
I said, but I appreciate you wanting me to do more videos. I said, but I for my for my sanctity of my house and the ability to pay my electric bill, I got to keep a couple of them.
Right.
Yeah, but those comparisons between the show world and the working side, man, if people just realize you need both. And if your dog is a great working dog, it's structurally sound, man, go in that show ring and just show them.
Because you actually done it with working dogs, right?
I've done it.
Yeah,
I've done it. I've championed dogs that people didn't know were mine. Because you'll never hear me pull the race card, but you didn't always see a lot of blacks doing shows.
Right.
So what I would do is I would leave some of my dogs in my good friend's kennel name, and I would let someone that didn't look like me show them.
Right.
And people would rant and rave over them, and they would champion and grand champion. And I never put myself in the forefront and said, that's my dog.
Right. Yeah.
But then I could take the same dog in the ring and I wouldn't place.
Right. Right.
You get me?
I already get you. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But that's a side of my story most people don't know. And when my daughter became interested in it, she had a great woman named Audrey Reed to teach her. And she taught all of us. She taught me, Madison, a couple other people. And she wouldn't let me use that as an excuse.
Right.
Said, now you're going to get in the ring. She said, because you're good enough and you're going to win. You're going to win because you're going to be the best and you're going to have the best dogs. Okay?
Right.
So I no longer just sat in the background. I put myself in the forefront because my dogs were good enough. Were they good enough 20 years ago?
Yeah, right.
Conformation wise, structurally, I don't know. Because I think they were judging a little different back then.
Right. And he keeps audience, this is just for the audience, he keeps mentioning his daughter Madison. Madison is one of the best weapons you can meet. I still call little cuz up when I'm doing litters. Most time, your wife be doing it, but yeah, Madison is one of the best whelpers and show persons, right?
Yeah. Watch this. We're gonna see if she whelp her own litter here coming with this new baby.
Right. Oh yeah. She got it.
We finna see she finna get some real whelping here soon. She's gonna have her first child. We finna see how she whelps that one.
So will that make you will that make your first grandchild?
My first one.
Oh, okay.
Paw J is what they gonna call me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. And well, I'm gonna go off subject a little bit. Lamont, he if you guys know anything about him, he loves children. He's a lot like my dad. He loves children and he does some coaching. Y'all just had a lot of success about a week or so ago. Would you talk about your track team you got?
I coach a USA track team. I got 5 girls, and my track team is all girls. So Lord have mercy. Jesus Christ. Well, we had some good success. I have about 10 kids on my team. We took 7, I believe, to USA Junior Olympics. We had 4 All-Americans come back. We took 9 kids to the Junior Olympics in AAU. We came back with 1 All-American. My girls run track, and that's like what your dad would say. That's my ministry.
Yeah, right.
No, that's my ministry. Is doing that. That balances the things out. I rather talk to dogs than I do most people. But it ain't a dog in this world that I would trade over a kid, and that keeps things in perspective. That keeps things in perspective for me.
Right.
Is if I can do those two for years to come, I know my life will be fulfilled with, with what I want to see it as. And I thank God, you might get in trouble for this word. I think God, God puts things on us that support who we are. We just got to accept it and do right by it. So
right.
That's what I try to do when it comes to not only my children or the kids that their families entrust their children in my hands to coach, to support them in the direction that they want their children to grow. Because at the end of the day, I'm responsible helping them be great people, not just great athletes.
Got you. Right.
And that translates into my kennel as well. So
doing things right,
putting it out. I appreciate you.
Oh yeah, I hope people tune in and go follow those girls.
DFW Lady Lepers.
That's it. DFW. So I got you for a few more minutes. I'm gonna ask you a few more questions. So, being with all the knowledge you have now, and you talked about your stumbling blocks and things like that, if you can tell an inspired breeder what to do from day one or before you do anything, do this, what would that be?
Be patient. And that's in selecting the breeder, selecting your purpose. Because a lot of us go into it saying we're going to breed and they one and done. I had a young lady that she's been preparing. She's done the work. Like, she's done the work. She showed her dog. She feeds the best she can. She done her training. She's done everything. She selected a quality male. She did everything that you could possibly want to see a young person coming into this do to be successful. Because success isn't for us as a breeder of having a beautiful litter. The success is putting something in a home and now we follow it and it grows with that family. That's success. Okay. The work that came along with that first litter, because she did it right. She kept her area clean. She bottle fed. She did all the things that we realize we have to do when you have a litter that they didn't tell you about.
Right.
And she told me when the last puppy went home 2 weeks ago, she said, "I'd never do it again."
Yeah.
She said, "I'd never do it again." She scheduled her female to be spayed.
Right.
She said she would never do it again. So you see a lot of that. I mean, you do. So if I could tell them to do one thing, it would be to be patient, because that covers a lot. That covers a lot. Some people get in it. They have the money. They go buy the best dogs. They go build the beautiful kennels. They go do everything material-wise they can do. And when you see they set up, you say, they're a great breeder. But they haven't checked all the boxes. And then when that first litter hit, that Duramax or whatever whelping box you got, it don't mean a damn thing when you don't know what you're doing.
Right, that's true.
Yeah. And so just being patient, man, is probably one of the most important things that you can do when you coming into this for a breeder.
Yeah.
And choosing great dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that great dog, that falls under a lot of things too.
Right.
That don't mean you paying the most. You go pay $10,000 and it can be trash.
Boy, yeah. Some of these prices, I don't know how they getting them. Well, but I know it's probably squeezing down right now with saturation. But some of the prices people probably don't pay. Man, hey, how much was Corsos back in the day when you relatively when you first started?
The truth?
Yeah, I want the truth.
My first two, I paid $750 for.
Okay. And then there was a time when they kind of like,
But I can tell you when they first started, they were about 2,500.
okay, yeah.
Okay. I think the ones that gave me the price that they gave me, they felt I would do right by their dogs, you know. And I'm not going to say that's what they charged everyone. I'll tell you what I paid. I paid $750 for my first two, and that was within about 4 months apart. Then I bought two more about 6 months after that. I think I paid $900 a piece for both of them. So, but I know when they started doing them over here, it was nothing for them to charge 2,500, you know, 3,000, because I remember my uncle was doing Neos at that same time in the 80s. And he had mentioned when we were talking about them that he had the opportunity to bring Corsos too. And he said they were about $400 on the farm. He could pay between $200 and $400 in Italy for a pup. And it cost about $1,800 to ship. And you could ship two. I believe you said you could ship two for the $1,800. So that would have put the dogs around maybe, what, $1,000 a piece?
Yeah.
About $1,000 a piece. Yeah. So they were bringing them here and they were doing them for like $2,000, $2,500 a pup.
Oh, okay.
Which, you know, $1,500 in the 80s was,
well, that was money.
money.
Yeah, that was good money. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, name me some of your most memorable dogs, if they're yours or not. Some that just always stick out to you.
I think when I met y'all, I had a male named Niles. He was one. Tony had a male named Nino.
Yeah.
Which is in a lot of people's pedigree.
Yeah. Very
The
powerful.
first time I seen him, he was coming from a show in New York, and they were taking him off the van. He also had a dog named Armani.
Armani, yeah, the famous Armani.
Yeah, I got to see him. He was a really, really nice dog. Temperament was amazing. Another one that I had, that she lived with our families for a long time, grew up with my girls. Her name was Michaela. She was a direct Nino daughter. And I had all the plans in the world for her. And she said, my only job is for these kids. And that's what she did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was her purpose. Mr. Ron, he had a dog named Vulcan, which is my Vulcan's grandfather.
So Vulcan. Now it was a Vulcan, this heavily titled dog.
That's him.
That's
him. He has.
go ahead.
Matter of fact, I have his book at home with all his titles in it.
Yeah.
Me and Mr. Ron was close before he died, and Vulcan, I believe, had 75 titles.
Golly.
Yeah, he had 75 titles, everything from working to show. And he was a Tito son, which Roy Rojas had Tito, but Tito was a Scandifio dog. He was Alpha Nino.
Okay.
So a lot of those lineages still go back to certain things that I had prior to. And what I did was, that was a line that was balanced. It had the size, it had the structure, and it had the drive, and it had the temperaments. Not saying that lines were flawless, because they weren't. None of them were back then. And coming into the present, none of them are to this day. You try to find the cleanest lines, run them, and keep doing your best at it. I'm not one that's going to blow smoke up nobody's tail and make it like nothing that we had didn't have any issues. What I can tell you is, if we had an issue, we worked our butts off to get them out. You know, And we were honest with people up front. If you made a mistake, you acknowledged it, you fixed it. That's why my health guarantee is 32 months and not 12 months or not at all, because I want to make sure that if there is an issue, as a buyer, you're protected,
Right.
So when I had the opportunity to breed to Vulcan, which I didn't, I bred to his son. His son's name was Junior Day Vulcan. And he had about 48 titles.
Man, what?
Yeah, he had
The son too.
the son too. Okay. So I'm gonna give you this, and I know you running out of time.
Yeah.
I bred to Junior versus the older Vulcan because Junior was a little smaller, and to me, he was a little more athletic. Okay. They said, well, you could have took it to the original Vulcan. Each generation is supposed to be better.
Right.
Right. So I wanted the better.
That's right. Yeah.
That's why I took it to the son. And me and Mr. Ron had a discussion this day. He said, Lamont, my Vulcan, your Vulcan should be up there close to my Vulcan. I said, nah. I said, I don't do that. I'm not gonna keep paying $20 to go get a title. I said, he's gonna be better than your Vulcan. Oh, you've lost your mind. He's the most title Corso ever. I said, on paper. I said, but my Vulcan's gonna be more well known than yours. Ain't no way. And we joked about that, but my Vulcan is 6 years old as of this past August the 9th. And I can tell you, you probably have as many people know mine as his.
Yeah, he's very popular.
And the reason why that is the things that I do with him. When you take them to certain daycares and you take them to, word of mouth, internet is amazing. But word of mouth still means something too.
It does.
And anybody that comes to the yard and they're not experienced with Corsos or, things of that nature, I put him in their hands. It's a young lady that just left yesterday that worked at General Motors that said she was ready for a male. I said, well, let me put him in your hands. And I turned him on, and she did great. She dug in, she held his leash, and that lets me know you can handle what you might be getting ready to get. And people appreciate that. So when you talk about being a buyer, go to the breeder's yard and tell him to put his best dog in your hand. Then you'll get to see the temperaments. You'll get to see if you're really prepared for what you say you asked him for. And you'll get to see the temperament of his dogs and what he truly has and what he's about to pass to you to bring around your children and your home and your mother-in-law. Now, some of you might want to put a bad dog around your mother-in-law.
Right.
I wasn't one of them. Yeah. I wasn't one of them. I love my mother-in-law. I wanted
Right.
a good one.
Yeah.
So, but that's how. Okay, so I said that to say this. I had that line that I had cleaned. I brought the other part of that line in and continued to clean it and brought it back together. You see what I'm saying? Talking about 15 years later. And
okay,
you get me?
Right.
I cleaned it on my end. Then when Mr. Ron and them still had it, to continue to clean it on that end and then boom, bring it back together. That's why I know my dogs are athletic. That's why I know they have minds that surpass. You can put them up with almost any breed and they'll compete with them. And there's a method behind the madness.
Right.
You can't figure out that madness in 2 years.
Right.
That's why I tell you, just keep doing what you're doing. And you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. And I never tell a breeder what they should do. I can support you in what you're choosing to do and maybe show you another way to help you get to where. But I believe every kennel should be that breeder's idea.
Right.
And his purpose.
would you agree with me if I said that it's pretty much impossible not to be able to do this without a mentor?
Yeah, I stand there with you because it's hard.
Yeah.
Anything's possible, but you're probably going to make a lot of mistakes. Or mistakes
I guarantee you, it's many people out here just based off this conversation hadn't heard the type of stuff you talked about, and they have probably own Corsos.
Right, I would. And Joe, only reason that I think I knew as much as I did is because I was around old men that you didn't talk. You worked. When they said, boy, go get that dog off that chain, that's what you did. Go put that dog on that truck. You did it. I think about 17, 18 years old, I started asking questions finally because they gave me the opportunity to, but they had been doing dogs 30 or 40 years. When it came to me, like they say, your dog's got so much muscle, man, you got to work them all day. Now, a lot of it is genetics, but if it's one that I decide to work, I know how to work them because I was around them old men, and they taught me how.
Right.
So when you say you need a mentor, they might not call themselves your mentor.
Right.
But when they're passing you knowledge, that's exactly what they are.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they are. And you have to be selective on who you choose.
Sure. Yeah.
You do. Every mentor ain't a good one. Some of it is, if your mentor only wants to sell you dogs and they're not okay with you going to get someone else's, and me and you've talked about that.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about this? Yeah, it's good dogs. This is what you have to look forward to when you get one of them. That means you're going to have to probably clean this or you're going to have to clean that, just like you getting one of my dogs. If what I have isn't your purpose, because I know you want to do more family dogs.
Right.
So that means that your temperament can't be a working dog's mentality. So going to get a dog from Tony would bring a balance to that, and those are things that I'm going to say because that's the truth.
Right.
I ain't on here to waste no time.
Right.
So when your purpose defines what direction you go in, and if your mentor isn't okay with you going the direction you choose to go and willing to help you down that lane, they probably got an ulterior motive behind being your mentor.
Right. And then sometimes you just got to go bump your head.
Right.
Because, I got your dogs, I got Tony dogs, I got somebody else's dog.
Yeah.
Hey, you might have to call. You know what I'm saying? I don't mean kill a dog, nobody, but this dog might not be right for your program. You know what I mean?
It's time to rehome them. They give them an opportunity to be successful in what they're good at.
Right. But my advice to, didn't nobody ask me, but my advice is to, if you're up and coming breeder, stick close to around the programs you get your dogs from. If you buy a female from them, I would go right back in the family. They're just me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't do it.
Because they usually know what goes best with their stuff.
They sure do. Yeah. And then you get to know the dog, see the dog. You don't know what's in that other man's yard.
Right.
That you just, oh, he's cute. You looking at him online and, oh, he's a big, black, beautiful dog. And you just go.
Well, because most people mentality, and this is the truth, is most breeders' mentality is your income.
Oh yeah.
Your income. So I'm going to sell you what I need to sell you to continue doing what I'm doing, and that's making an income. Your well-being isn't always top priority. But what's always more important to me is the relationship versus the dollar. If a guy comes and says, hey, Lamont, they told me to call you. I have PTSD. I got blew up by a roadside bomb. I was in a coma for 11 months. I messed up. I need a dog. And if I say, what's a realistic budget? And I know my range is $2,850 to $3,500. And he says, I'm on a fixed income. I get this from the VA every month. And this all I can afford. My purpose in doing this will never say that's not enough. Whatever you can come to the table, whether I make you come to the table with something, my purpose is always people first. You know, I'd rather be rich in people than I will in money. And it's all about the breeder that you choose to build a relationship with as a breeder, because you got to buy your dogs from someone.
You got to, yeah.
So do you align yourself with a person who wants the pat on the back and the air about themselves to say, oh, I'm the best? Or do you want someone that when you come, they say, well, I know what you're trying to do. That dog right there, he's 4 years old. He's done great for me. He'll give you what you need to get you going. We'll work something out on him. Take him. We'll figure it out. That's a person that you built a relationship with.
Right.
You know, I mean, you have talked about that. A relationship in this is more valuable than you being able to go buy 4-day dogs.
Right.
You know?
Sure is. Yeah.
So, you're spot on when you say line yourself up with a breeder, especially consistently. But focus on the relationship versus just the fact that you are able to go buy a dog from them. And if that's all they want from you,
yeah, you go, boy. You go be all over the place,
man. That's absolutely true.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask you one more question, because I know your work, besides your program, I know you work with other people,
right?
And so, what is the whole point of kennel partners and things like that, and who may be some of your kennel partners?
Gotcha. I have 3 kennel partners initially. I have other kennels, guys that own kennels that I associate and align myself with. But the ones I deal with that are day-to-day is James Curvin at Cane Corsos, Kwame Spikes at Spikes Kennels in Jasper, Texas. James is in Dallas, Red Oak, Texas. And then you have Jason Robinson in the Houston area. He's in Missouri City at Robinson Elite Corsos. How did we become kennel partners? Okay. I met all 3 of them in all 3 different ways. Okay. And me and James always joke about how we met, because when James came to me, it was by default. All right. He was looking for Ron Ackerman, the one that I was telling you that.
Yeah.
Okay. And when he came, we talked, and James' ideas weren't my ideas. And not saying his ideas was wrong, but they weren't right.
Oh, again.
I didn't say they were wrong. I just said they weren't right.
We ain't talking about you, Jay.
Yeah, we ain't talking about you, Jay. But man, we did this because I think a lot of it was who brought him into the Corso world and the things that they, you know, kind of taught him when we talked about the agenda, continuing to get you to buy dogs from them and that kind of stuff. And then I just kind of, I knew he had it in him because he has a passion and he got a work drive, boy, that I don't put many people work drive up against mine, but boy, he there with me, if not surpass me. But you know, he got God behind him. He'll pass.
Yeah, he's pastor too. Yeah,
he'll pass. So you know, God give him a little extra sometimes.
Right.
But I met James that way, and we work hand in hand. Every dog that I bring in the train, he touches, and every dog that he brings in, I touch. That's a relationship we built over 5 or 6 years that most people can't build in 30.
Right.
Jason Jason was referred to me by a well-known breeder. And, you know, for them to refer somebody and they're who they are, that says a lot about what they think about you. And we started and we went forward and we produced some great dogs from the start. Madison's female angel.
Oh yeah,
you know,
one of my favorites.
Yeah, you know, and we produced some dogs from the start, and not taken away from, you know, the lineage that we were working with and that breeder himself, but for him to put us two together, we did some good things. And Kwame, well, he the baby out of all of us. You know, he came to me as humble as he knew how. He said, "Hey, I don't know much. This is what I want to do. Can you help me?" And I said, "Boy, this boy funny looking, but you know, maybe I can, you know, help point him in the right directions." And all three of us, all four of us, we just meshed together. Our ideas aren't identical, but they're supportive, and we're okay with telling somebody each other, "Man, take that down. You know that look a mess."
Yeah, right.
You know, and one thing we all are, we're dads. We pride ourselves on our families first, and we understand that a dog is a dog,
right?
You know, and our ultimate purpose is our families, and providing for them. And two, we all love what we do, and it's hand in hand. Of I'm the kind, I can't align myself with people that have messed up characters. If it's a joker that's gonna get over on you and know they getting over on you, he ain't gonna be around me,
right?
Because I'm gonna try to do things the right way the first time.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And all those dudes, they're powerful in what they do. I love them as brothers, and we are bonded outside of just dogs. You know, I know when Jason's daughter performing at playing volleyball in Dallas, and you know, Kwame's birth of his son, and you know, James when he has revival. You know, you know,
yeah, all y'all got different passions too, besides the dog.
Absolutely.
And that you can see, you know, like
Kwame's a coach. Jason's a coach. James is a pastor, and you know, I coach as well. You know, so those are things that we do have in common. But more importantly, what we have in common is, and I'm proud to say, we're strong Black men that support strong Black men and strong families. And we don't do that much. We don't do that very often. And I'm okay with saying it, you know, because this is a great thing for us. And it's a support system, not only in our kennels, it's a support system in life. So, yes, and there's others. There's some other good ones that, you know, I look at these men and, you know, my one buddy, we don't talk a lot, but his kennel is Pride Poise Kennel. And
oh, yeah, I know he is. Yeah,
good guy. Runs a good site on the Facebook Corso site. And, you know.
Yeah, he's a nice brother. Good nice.
Yeah, it's several though, man. Cody, a guy at Chaotic. Man, it's a lot of them. I'll be here 10 minutes naming them if I name them all. And if I did name you, brother, don't take offense to it.
Yeah, we see them in the groups. We know who they are.
Yeah, exactly. And some of my show people, you know, my Tracy's, is two of them.
Oh yeah.
You know, that come to my aid when I need them, and those are people that they love you outside of the dogs,
right?
You know, but they do damn good work on that show side, you know.
Right.
Everybody I name, one thing they all got in common: they help. They are ones you can pick up the phone, and they'll help you quick, fast, and in a hurry, but you know, for no purpose besides the fact of helping. You know.
Cool. Hey man, all right, that's gonna be it. I guess it's the time we're gonna do closing remarks and benediction.
Hey man,
so,
God.
So, how can people reach you? Whether it be telephone numbers, websites, whatever.
My phone number, which I said, well, Lamont, I don't give your number out. unless I call you first, man, my number all over the internet. Look, if I didn't want it out, I'm in trouble. My phone number is 214-207-6770. I prefer people to call me, versus text me, because we can have a 5-minute conversation versus a 5-day text session,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm in Midlothian, Texas, outside a southern sector of Dallas. My kennel name is La Potenza Cane Corso. You can type that in on Facebook. La Potenza Cane Corso, LAPOTENZA, Cane Corso on Facebook. My Instagram is La Potenza _ Cane, CANE _ Corso. I'm not adding no more social media because I struggle with that,
I saw you had to make you a personal page on your Instagram.
Man, I had to make a personal page. And,
yeah.
I did want to do that,
Yeah.
but I had to separate the two.
Yeah,
but
I had to do that too.
Yeah, you have to sometimes. But man, I'm easy to contact. I'm on a lot of the Corso sites as well. If they need me for training, or if they want to just come out and see kind of how a kennel works, I'm open for that too. But as long as people are respectable of your time and your craft, I'm all about helping. But I also have to say this, because we know how this go. I help within reason. I'm fair to you, but I also have to be fair to myself. And it's just who I am.
Right. Well, hey man,
and they should follow you as well. Because, you're doing some good things too.
Yeah. We try. One of the main things. This is kind of like with you sitting down with me, especially in the Corso world. It's kind of a major thing because you don't really have a lot of people to just give you more than basic information.
Right.
But and if you go to Facebook, you see a lot of arguments instead of somebody coming out and saying, well, hey, here's this is why I think that, blah, 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 blah. So we just need more of that, because people might just be fishing through comments, scared to ask, want to learn.
Right.
Don't know which way really to go, or
because they're going to get criticized, or the head bit off, or ridiculed, or made to feel less.
Right. And then other than that, for as YouTube, I think it's important that we get a digital imprint on guys like you. Otherwise, whose story wouldn't be told. I mean, or you can't get how do I put this? You can't get it from, like in religion. You have a lot of this and that and this and speculation on that. But if Jesus was here and he had a YouTube, we could hear it straight from him.
Right.
And we wouldn't have that division and all that. So
absolutely.
So it's important that we do more of this.
It's one thing before we end it's a term that I hate. Because I feel like it's overused. Backyard breeder. I hate it because I'm gonna say this to you. You don't have to have $100,000 kennels set up to be a good breeder. And you don't have to have 5-10 years in it to be on the right path of doing it. We all started somewhere. And I had my first litter of Corsos, right hand up to God, on your cousin's couch. Went to sleep, woke up the next morning. I was like a kid in a candy store. I had 4 puppies on the couch. Okay?
Right.
I didn't know I had 5 puppies under the couch.
Whoa, really?
It wasn't that I didn't want the best for the dogs. I didn't know.
Right.
I didn't know about counting days.
That's what we're trying to fix right here. Yeah.
Yes, I didn't know there was a gestational period between a certain amount of days. Nobody had ever told me.
Right.
You get me?
Right.
They gave me some tips. She stopped eating. She stopped eating. She about to drop.
Yeah.
If you check her temperature, I ain't have no thermometer. You know, those are things. I was a kid. So what would they have called me?
Right.
A backyard breeder.
Right.
Period. And my intentions weren't to be less. My intentions were to do right. I just didn't know. And when I see people getting attacked because they just don't know,
right,
those are the ones that I truly want to reach out and help. I might send a message in the inbox or say, hey, don't be discouraged. If you need some help, call me.
Right.
You know, and I think that term is so overused and is used as the N word.
Right.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, you can line some of those words up and the way it's used.
Yeah. And the description it fits. Yeah.
Yes. And the context that is used.
Right. Yeah.
That's how it's used. It's used to be hurtful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And everybody's purpose isn't to be what they're being described as.
Right.
They just don't know. And
right.
there's not one right way to be a breeder.
Right. And I hate that word puppy mill. Puppy mill, I live in the Midwest, well, the middle
where real
puppy mills are.
That's right. That's right.
$400, $500, $600 in one spot.
That's right.
And that's USDA approved. Man, shut up about a puppy mill. Stop. I hate to hear that. But anyway, we both got it off our chest.
There you go.
Okay, bro. Well, hey, man.
I appreciate you.
Man, we appreciate you, man. This is epic. So,
yeah.
Maybe one day we have you back again, brother. I know they're going to fill the comment section.
Absolutely. Man, I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. See you later.